Ladies and gentlemen, the Brewers Cup champion of the United States of America, Erin McCarthy.
Good morning. My name is Erin McCarthy. I hail from New York City, and I'm so excited to be here representing Counterculture Coffee, the work of the Petersons at Hacienda Esmeralda, as well as the specialty coffee community of the United States. Over the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be chatting with you about the coffee that you're going to experience today, Esmeralda. It's a geisha variety from the Lino lot at Hacienda Esmeralda in Panama. On either side of the table, I've charted for you the factors that have affected the flavor profile of this coffee. On the right side, there are flavor notes that are general, and I'll be getting more specific as I go. So, as a coffee steward, it's my job to make sure that the flavors and aromas from origin and roasting are present in the brew. So let's get started. This Lino lot is from one of the highest southern-facing parts of the farm. Ooh, there's a bee. It helps with the floral, must be the floral aroma. This coffee, the area where it's grown, gets about 25 degrees Celsius during the day. Overnight, goes down to around 15 degrees. So these relatively cool temperatures help to slow down the maturation of the coffee cherry. And the coffee seed inside has more time to absorb the sugars. Well, this is going to translate into a deep stone fruit sweetness, which this morning I was tasting notes of apricot and mango. If you'll excuse me, this is an important part of the brewing process, so I'm just going to concentrate on it. All right. So this coffee, the mucilage was removed the day that this coffee was picked and depulped. And it was soaked overnight to make sure that all remaining mucilage was off before it was put out to dry the next day. Because the Petersons took the time to make sure that all the mucilage was removed, you're going to get an extremely clean cup with intense tropical fruit acidity. And today I was getting a lot of pineapple, and also notes of black tea. And to further capitalize on these flavor notes, we started this coffee at a very high heat in the roaster. And that was to bring out that pineapple acidity. And then the roasters gently drew off the heat towards the end, finishing the coffee at its peak of caramelization and that was to capitalize on that stone fruit sweetness. Additionally, this coffee was screen sorted to size 17 so that the application of heat during roasting would be more uniform from bean to bean. And uniformity is also a principle that I bring to my brewing. As a trainer at Counterculture, I get asked all the time, how do I brew the best cup of coffee? How can I maximize the potential of this bag of coffee that I just bought? Today, I've sifted out the fines so that the water could extract more uniformly from particle to particle in the brew bed. You can see the fines as well as the grind size of the coffee that I brewed with in front of you. So removing these fines on the left really helped to clean up the cup profile, especially in the finish. And I chose the Kalita Wave because of its flat bed, which creates a horizontal column of grounds that allows the coffee to move through and extract each particle uniformly. From this, you're going to get an extremely syrupy mouthfeel, followed by a tea-like dryness that balances really well with that stone fruit sweetness. Also, I used, in the beginning of my extraction, a high flow kettle. That was so that I could get most of the agitation in the beginning. And then I switched, as you could see, I was doing a lot of juggling. I switched to the flow restricted kettle so that I could minimize the agitation. And what it does is creates a column of water on top of the grounds. And so that column of water acts as a buffer, and it absorbs the agitation from the kettles and allows the water to just gently brew through and pick up that sweetness between minute 3 and 4 and avoid the bitterness of over extraction. So I'm going to give you a chance to perceive this aroma, which is a classic geisha variety aroma. This morning I was getting a lot of vanilla and really just walking into a flower garden in full bloom. Magnolia, tulips, just really beautiful. So for coffee professionals, the geisha variety is a celebrity. Are you all familiar with the movie actress Meryl Streep? Yeah? Okay, maybe not. He can fill you in. Meryl Streep? Yeah? Okay, good. For me, variety geisha is like the Meryl Streep of coffee. If I see that a movie's playing and don't know much about it, beyond the fact that Meryl Streep is in it, I know that movie has the potential to be great. And I feel the same way about the geisha variety. When I see it on a coffee menu, I get excited. I know that the coffee I'm about to drink, because of the history of excellence of this variety, has the potential to be outstanding. Now I say potential because, of course, there are a lot of other factors involved. The growing conditions, roasting, processing, and brewing all have to be top-notch in order to capitalize on the potential of this variety. And that's what's happening here today. I wanted to make sure that you knew that I didn't just bring this coffee to you because it's a geisha. I brought this coffee because Hacienda Esmeralda's geisha is a milestone on the timeline of specialty coffee. After 2004, when Hacienda Esmeralda won Best of Panama, people were curious. They started asking, why is this coffee so good? And why is it so expensive? And as a coffee community, we collectively distilled it down to variety. And that was so exciting because that's when we started talking about varieties and how variety affects flavor. And just to take it a step further, this discussion becomes extremely important when thinking about the future of coffee growing, especially in Latin America where this coffee is from. There are only really a handful of varieties historically grown there, Typica and Bourbon, and most of them are descended from the same tree. So, thank you. So, the lack of genetic diversity going on there puts farmers at a disadvantage when diseases hit. And this relates directly to Hacienda Esmeralda, because when the Petersons bought the farm in 2007, there was a rust outbreak similar to the one that happened last year. And they noticed that one variety was less affected by the rust, and that was the geisha variety. So, like any good farmer, they took that seed and they planted it all over the farm. And what's so interesting about this is that they chose this coffee for not for the cup profile, but for its resistance to disease, which is so cool. I just want to thank you so much for the time to spend with you today, to brew this beautiful coffee for you, to put it in context, and to show you the story that has a history connected to us in specialty coffee and the future of specialty coffee. Time.
Boom! Erin McCarthy, United States Brewers Cup champion. Just in case you weren't sure where this guy's from, get over here.
Thank you. Thanks.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm not going to let you leave me without giving me a taste of that
Oh,
coffee
yeah.
as well. So
Totally.
excuse me, everybody. This is one of the perks of the jobs. So, you get that. Congratulations. That's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
That was amazing. That's a great story. The whole geisha thing and the Esmeraldas, because it's also kind of one of these becoming moments in specialty coffee with the God in a Cup book, right? That was all around that stuff.
Totally.
And I think it's really interesting to see that coming here to your presentation to give that reference for, as you say, going backwards and into the future. How did
Yeah.
that all come about in your thought process?
I knew the coffee I wanted to use, and I knew that it was a celebrity. I mean, you say geisha, people go, oh, or oh, like.
It's scary, though,
I'm sure
right?
you were going to use it. Yeah, exactly. And especially coming from the farm, that kind of started it all. So I just took some time to think about what geisha did and what it means, and I kind of realized, wow, like there seems to be this kind of jump in my own history. I started in 2003, which is, 10 years ago, but not exactly, that early in the game. And there was a kind of confluence of ideas that came together after this coffee got so popular, was so expensive, tasted so different. We started to see variety put on bag labels by roasters, started talking about it. And so that connection to coffee growing was really something that I wanted to highlight.
It also takes confidence to stand up and direct Meryl Streep.
Right? Yeah.
That's pretty much what you've just done, so
Yeah.
congratulations on that. So away from your coffee, right, and this is the great thing I think about this competition, that on one level you've got the coffee, but then you've got to brew it, okay?
Yeah.
So you got this great stuff, which has taken, 6 months to get from the farm into your hands or whatever it takes, and then you've got 6 minutes to either do it justice or to screw it all up.
Right.
So, how did you go about, preparing, changing the variables? You talked about the precision with which you like to brew.
Totally. I tried I brewed 3 at a time a lot, practicing before I got here, because that's really important. And I got the sense of timing from that. And then when I would brew one, I knew the timing that I was going to use. I knew I was sifting. It wasn't like I wasn't going to sift. But I did experiment with water. And I got here, I didn't bring any water from the States, so I got here and I tried some different waters. And
Were you looking for flavor, or were you looking for a certain
looking
hardness, or what were you looking for?
I was looking for taste. I was trying to match, the water that I had in New York, and so I wanted to get the same kind of pop that I had gotten, and and I was able to get it yesterday and today.
So you also kind of have to, like with this coffee, and if anybody wants to taste this coffee, it's brewed over there, and you can get a sample of it to taste it. But with this coffee, it's very delicate. So, choosing everything you do with it is about trying to bring out that delicacy, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that's enough about your brewing system and your coffee. Tell us about you. You work with counterculture?
I do, yeah.
Yeah? How long have you been there?
I've been there for a year. Yeah, and I'm a machine technician. So
I love that. I love that. There's a machine technician in the final of the World Brewers Cup.
Yeah.
Because techs know their coffee.
Yeah, we got to.
That's fantastic. Well done. It's great.
Yeah.
I hope you had a great time here in Melbourne. You enjoying it?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's great. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause and thank you to Erin McCarthy, the United States of America Brewers Cup 2013.